days you can see your breath. Out here in the lake of fact, breaking tables like it's poetry. Where else would you rather be? Pinto, Ron, Elvis, and the Lay Poncho. The members that you need to know. 'Cause once you out here now, your family. Where else would you rather be? Where else would you rather be?
Welcome into the Nickel City Crew. I am your host, Rob Crippen. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Nickel City Crew. This episode, along with all of our episodes, are presented by Crippen Legacy Entertainment here on Spreaker and StreamYard. We're so glad that you're joining us for some of your Buffalo Bills and NFL content again today. And as always, these are my Bills thoughts said out loud.
It's a vibe so ridiculous. Since 12 plus 83 was 6. The shout rocking like a symphony. Where else would you rather be?
All right, let's get straight to it. I'm excited about tonight's episode for different reasons tonight because, to be quite honest, I need this this therapy. To be honest, this Bills therapy. It's funny because fans are sometimes viewed as fan is short for fanatic, and I know that my co-host does as well, and it means something to us. So when the season comes to an abrupt halt the way that it did on Sunday, I know that a lot of times it's laughed at, but fans, we give a shit. Like, we care. Like, we are the ones that are out there braving the elements. We're the ones that are going to the games. Even if you don't even tailgate, if you do tailgate, obviously that adds a level of preparation and just dedication that not every fan that watches sports really involves themselves with. You can be a casual fan of baseball or hockey or anything, golf, anything. It doesn't really matter, and it may not affect your life. But when you're dedicated to something and you're into it, and you kind of give your time, your energy, obviously your money as well for good measure, it means something. It hurts, to be honest. So I need this episode tonight. I've been really waiting. I know that for 13 seconds, it took me last year an entire 7 days before I could actually get my co-host on the show with me. And we conducted a little episode because back then I was doing it by myself, and I still needed somebody to talk to, and I wanted to talk to DT about it. And listen, man, this is an episode that I need. So I'm excited regardless, considering the circumstances. Joining us tonight, as always, my co-host, Adam Dump Truck Rubsick. Holla at the crew, DT. Man, holla at the crew. What's good, man?
Nickel City. Nickel City, what's up? What's up, Rob? We're back. Like you said, it's I was kind of hesitant for this week's episode just because my first reaction was to kind of shell out and just kind of put it down and not really look into it and accept it as real. But here we are having to accept it's real, like it or not. And I think it'll be good to get it out and a couple days to digest so we can make some logical, points, and we're not just spewing as I've heard a lot of people in the area and doing in the past couple days. So we'll lock in, see what we can unpack it and digest it. And as tough as it is to swallow, it's it is what it is, and we're going to have to move forward with it. So look forward to kind of breaking into that tonight, Rob.
Yeah, let's get into it because you're absolutely right. Time doesn't stop. So the playoffs are still going to continue. Believe it or not, Bills Mafia, Nickel City Crew, like, they're going to keep playing games. They're going to crown a champion for the 2022 season, and it won't be the Bills. So let's talk about some of it and what happened. I know that Sunday was an interesting day for me personally, when we, even if you take it all the way back to the tailgate, because your energy, I couldn't quite match it, to be honest with you, DT. One of the things that was really kind of worrying me and concerning me going into this game, despite the fact that the Bengals had the offensive line issues, and I was hanging my hat on the fact that I thought that the Bills would be able to make some hay with that. It was just the fact that Monday Night Football game, and I was saying it to the guys in my section 104. I mean, they came out and they played that game, DT. They were ready to play that game. Some would even say that they didn't want to stop it. You know what I mean? Once DeMar got to the hospital, they wanted to keep playing. Like, now I understand that, there's some videos out with Stephon Diggs on the sideline. He was trying to get the guys back motivated, but we all understand with the DeMar Hamlin situation why the Bills weren't prepared mentally to go and play that game anymore and finish it and resume it. So that's fine to me. I don't have any problems with that. Boy, they were coming out, DT. Like it's you could tell. I mean, from the opening kickoff, they were coming out, they were playing, they were up 7-3. Looks like they were driving again when when T. Higgins gets tackled by DeMar Hamlin on that play. That kind of worried me. The way that their intensity was, and Joe Mixon talking shit before the game and talking about we're the big dogs of the AFC. It kind of let me know that they didn't really fear us, and they definitely were ready for the matchup, and it showed on the field. Now, again, we don't know what would have happened. The Bills could have won, 41-4, to 7 or whatever the case may be. We have no clue what would have happened with the rest of that game. However, it kind of put some seeds into my mind, to be honest, leading up to Sunday's game, where I was just a little bit nervous. Now, you on the other end had great energy. You were, fuck the Bengals and everything. Like, we're gonna beat the Bengals. You had great energy. So it was weird for me during the tailgate because I was trying to get hyped. I was trying to get amped, but I was just a little bit worried. How were you? Was your actual energy, was it matching what you were doing, or was that more of a masking? Were you kind of, projecting and doing more of a defense mechanism and pretending to have all that energy, or were you just that confident? Because I promise you that Monday Night Football game kind of changed some of my confidence level.
Yeah, Rob. Well, I think it was a little of all that, to be honest. As we talked all season about kind of flipping the switch in the new age of Bills Mafia, of being able to go in and be the favorite and go in and be the team that should be winning these games. And it's come to the point where I think we needed to make that transition. We needed to make that switch. To not be scared of these good teams that we're playing in a week in and week out basis. And this year was the year I felt comfortable with kind of making that jump. 17, and the team showed me enough to put the trust in them to kind of have that confidence and have that. Don't matter really what's the situation, what's the vibe, what it comes down to. We're going to be in a game with a chance to win it, with
Right.
17 and the boys.
Absolutely.
And that's so, in a way, yes, it was probably subconsciously a little old school Bills fan, like a little nervous, definitely. But I was also comfortable with making that transition. I had the trust. It's been the years, it's been the time, it's been the effort to make that jump to, we got a good team coming in, to it don't matter who's coming in, we can handle it. And
Absolutely.
obviously wasn't the case Sunday. Learn the hard way with that. I don't regret kind of that energy shift in my fandom in that way.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I still think we're there, and I still think we can get there. And Von Miller said it best in the post game that the window's not closed, and I agree with him. So
I agree.
Still positive in that regard, but definitely back to reality hit on Sunday with I'm trying, that this was the game that could really
Right.
solidify that change. I think you would have followed a lot more smoothly
Absolutely. Yeah.
and like, damn, I should have been on that vibe all week, DT,
Right.
but you took on the more
Measured
conservative
approach.
route that
Yeah.
we're used to as a fan base. And it is what it is. But
I mean, the
so
drop
I'd say
was
it's
hard.
a little of everything, Rob.
Yeah,
But I was comfortable making the transition.
I mean, the drop was hard, like the drop kind of beat me up. And I was talking to you pre-show, just about, season tickets, and I'm driving up from Charlotte, different things like that. The drought was hard on me. So to spend all of those years going up to the games, it was tough. And it definitely, I won't, you're absolutely right. I can't bullshit you on that. It definitely changed my fandom, and definitely changed how I view the team and viewed the expectations leading into those games and those matchups, because obviously the drought, we always came up short. So it kind of shapes you. As we got into the game and we transitioned to the game itself, DT, boy, that was a really weird atmosphere, just from the fact of how quick the energy shifted in the building from that first drive by Kansas City. From Cincinnati. They take the ball, or we defer, whatever the case may be, and they come down and they just, methodical 72 yards drive, and it was just like, it was quick. It happened in a flash, and it was very eerily reminiscent of a lot of the Patriots games that I've been to and you've been to over the years, where Tom Brady is literally just paper cutting us down the field with Welker, Edelman, Gronk, whoever, and he just paper cuts, and all of a sudden you look up and they've got 6 points on the board. So that game, it was weird. The energy was definitely there for the first Bills drive, but then to go 3 and out, DT, it started to suck some energy out, and then you go down 14-0 in a blink of an eye on the very next drive. I think it was a 75-yard drive. I think it was either 75, 72 or reverse. I mean, first 2 drives, the energy. I was talking to somebody from my business world, and he's a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and he's geared up for this AFC Championship game, and he was like, "Well, what was it like in there?" And I was like, "The energy was just weird. It was off. It was it just happened really fast, DT. I think that's one of the things. It was almost like a car crash where it was a split second, and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, we're down 14-0 in our own building, and we haven't even done anything yet. We literally been on the field for 3 plays."
Well, what I mentioned earlier in the season was it seemed like we were getting the ball to start pretty much every game. I'd like to look back at the actual statistics on that to see what the defer and receive rate was this year for the Bills. It felt like we were receiving every opening kickoff. Obviously, the Patriots, a couple weeks before that was the best one, and
Right.
it seemed like when we got the ball first, the offense kind of got into a rhythm and got some. They didn't score a touchdown every time, but darn near. So I was a little surprised to see them defer to a Bengals team who 2 weeks ago went right down the field on you on the first possession.
Yes.
Hey, this is our house. We're going to set the tone with 17 today. Let's get the ball first and see what we can do. So I think that was
That's
bad
McDermott.
decision
That's
number one,
McDermott for
and
you.
right, and that led
Playoff
to
coach.
and it got critical real quick. Rob got
Yeah.
critical real quick when they went down and scored, and you go 3 and out. Like that's still okay, but then you
Right.
got to have a stop yourself,
Right.
and down 14-0, and yeah, the air was kind of taken out of the building. Matt Milano said it in the presser. There was just no juice, and it's like, come on, though, like you got to find the juice. You got to give the juice, even when the touchdown drive and Josh goes down, and basically they just stop calling plays and just say, Josh, ram it in,
Yeah.
for 3 straight times,
Yes.
whatever. Like
Right.
I was ready to get back on it at that
Oh,
point,
yeah.
and everyone next to me in the same boat. I'm sure you were as well, down in
Absolutely.
104. But the team didn't seem like they were, so it was like, come on, man. So I think that was crucial of a team that's used to receiving this first half kickoff, used to going down and getting points and, and making a splash and setting the tone to these games, gives the ball away to one of the best offense and weapons, right out of the gate. And, a
Yeah.
lot of things cost them Sunday, but setting the tone early, that was number one.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, because a lot of things did contribute to the loss. When I'm walking back to the car, and I'm talking to people, and people are pissed off and stuff like that. I'm telling this is on everybody. This loss was on. It was
Yeah.
collective. I'm not going to sit here and just rail on just McDermott all night. I do have some things that I got to touch on, because I have to stay on brand, and I'll be honest, I have a lot of blame for him because of the fact of how he seems to change, and he cowers in these big moments. He's done it now for 3 straight seasons. We've got the blowout, against Kansas City in the AFC Championship, and he's, kicking he's kicking a bunch of field goals. He's down, he's trying to kick a field goal, and then he's asking him after the game, well, coach, why'd you go for field goals before the half? And he's talking about, I wanted some momentum. I wanted the guys to feel good about themselves. Like, this is the biggest stage. This is time for us to keep up with Patrick Mahomes, and you're kicking field goals to go down.
Started that game up 9-0.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a situation. And then last year, obviously 13 seconds doesn't need to be talked about, because, it falls on McDermott to me. Leslie Frazier is the defensive coordinator, but I still look at it, and I've defended Leslie because of the fact that, who is Leslie's boss? Like, where is the gumption? The whole 13 seconds problem with me was that Sean's right there. So I don't care if it was Leslie that was making the calls or not. You're his boss. You step in and you say something, and you say, we're not going to play this crazy prevent coverage. We're not going to step off. They did the same thing again Sunday, DT. Leslie Frazier's got us on 3rd and 4, and they're lined up, and they're 7 yards off the ball behind the actual first down marker. And like, why is this all this type of cushion? So I know that that's been talked about a lot this week, and for good reason. I lay it at Sean McDermott's feet because of the fact that he is the head coach. He is on the defensive side of the football. So I don't want to hear that Leslie's just, out here just rogue and just running any type of defense that he wants. Sean McDermott has got his hands all over this defense. It's his baby. It's his show. He started as a defensive coordinator. He got a head coaching job because he was, that's his acumen on that side of the football. I don't want to hear that Leslie Frazier is just making calls in 13 seconds and making calls on Sunday without the approval of Sean McDermott. I don't buy it. I know that, Ken Dorsey is a little bit of a different deal on the offensive side of the ball, but to me, that was weird. You're absolutely right. I'll give you credence, because it just seems to me that, these big games, McDermott always seems to be switching up. He always seems to be changing things up and punting and different things like that. The punt early in the at the end of the first half. I mean, what was that? I'm looking at the field. I'm looking at Greg like, why are we giving the ball back to them? Like, it's 4th and 10. Yeah. You're at the 41-yard line of the Bengals.
With
like,
a chance for a 2-1.
Let's go double
chance
dip.
for a 2-1 down.
I'm explaining
2
to people.
scores.
I'm explaining to little, there's kids in my section, and I'm explaining. I'm like, they're trying to double dip. We're trying to get points now, and then right again after half. And then he does the exact opposite. And then that one, punt at the end of the game where he just doesn't want to lose the game there. I don't care. Like, I don't care. I could have gone to my car then. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care if we lose the game right then. 4th and 2. You're trying to win the game. You're trying to get back into the game, and you pump the ball back to them in the third quarter. Like, it just shows to me again that, this coach does change his philosophies. I know that he's gotten better with some of the 4th down calls, but that's all regular season. I'm not going to give you too much credit for regular season and changing your stripes in the regular season. Who are you when the lights are brightest? Who are you when they are shining on you and everybody is relying on you to make critical decisions? And I think he comes up short every time. And I'm not calling for a coaching change, but boy, I'm not going to be able to deal with too many more of these losses before I'm ready. I'll be honest.
Well, that's why it's a debate, Rob, because it's such a small sample size. 17 games out of the year, they're pretty nails, pretty solid, making decent decisions.
Right.
Not perfect games by any means, but making decent enough decisions. And you saw kind of improvement with his decisions from year to year to year.
Correct.
But then the sample size is 3 games. The 3 games they lose in the playoffs, and obviously the biggest magnitude of those games. And it's like you said, I agree. It's kind of a changed over. It's almost like play not to lose that bad type of feel.
Yes.
And
yes.
and this isn't the, like, you're never going to win anything with that.
It's
so
not the time.
I agree. Yeah, I agree 100%. You're never going to win shit doing that. And so that, I think now it's like it was easy to sweep under the rug or not address or put Sean McDermott on trial because it's such a small sample size and majority of time it's successful, but when it counts, it's not. And and that's what we got to figure out. If that's a changing a whole philosophy and losing a few more games in the regular season, but then being prepared for this last one, obviously everyone's going to pick the latter of that. So something's got to give in that department. I 100% agree. Both sides of the ball, there was, play calling, whatever the case was, Sean McDermott's the boss of that. And I don't think he goes on trial enough. We have been both kind of critical of him throughout the year. And, because it's the sample size. He can kind of get into the crowd with the, with a little Houdini, if you will. But when the lights are on, it's the same thing 3 years in a row. So it's tough,
disappointing.
Rob.
I mean, it's disappointing because of the fact that, he preaches, accountability. He preaches, process. He preaches all these different, little buzz terms that he has and growth mindset, all that other bullshit that, you know what I mean? Like, I understand the monikers. Again, I've always talked about it, and you guys can fact check me on older episodes back in season 1. Like, Doug Marrone had a culture, and he had stuff painted on the wall that don't confuse effort with results. And Rex Ryan, even the frat house that he was running, he had his own monikers and different shit like that. None of it matters. I don't care if you change the painting on the wall, the carpet color. None of it matters if you're not going to practice what you preach. So the biggest thing that I feel that I have a problem with McDermott, and I've had a problem with him for a while now, is because of the fact that I think that he is fooling us. I think that he is Rex Ryan, Dick Duran, just more professional. I have said that time and time again. I've called WGR to make that point. He is the same type of coach. He is scared. He coaches scared. And yes, there have been some improvements for sure throughout the regular seasons. And he has, start going for it more and different things like that and doing some different analytics, or I don't know if he's crediting that to that or not, or there's somebody in his ear on game day saying, hey, coach, win probability on this or success rate on this, that type of thing. He's gotten better. However, I don't care when on the biggest stage, when I need you to do what you're asking your players to do, you're not doing. I need you to have that same growth mindset and continuing to evolve and learning from your other mistakes, like learn from last year's divisional round, which you should have learned from the AFC Championship the year before. Like, I'm looking for accountability from the top guy who's preaching, and it's just it's like it's just like somebody that is full of shit and they're trying to tell you something that they don't do. Well, there's it's just like you're not practicing what you're preaching, and it's starting to ring hollow for me. I know that his message is starting to ring hollow for me. I'm not a player, so it doesn't matter. But I'm going to be focused really on this next season because of the fact that 2023 for me is make or break for some improvement. I want to see significant improvement. Listen, DT, I could have dealt with if we got our, you know what I mean, it was a shootout and we just got beat, or it was a defensive struggle and we lost 17-10 or something like that. It was hard on both teams. Cincinnati looked way better than we did on both sides of the ball, and it was not even close. There were no adjustments, it seemed to be made on the defensive side of the ball. And again, that's Sean's baby.
Yeah, and look at the early in the season, the Ravens game, get down huge in that game, and what did they do? They put their head down, got it in 17's hands. Defense made some adjustments, and they locked back and stormed back into that game to win because they had the talent to do it.
That's right.
And obviously, we would have liked to see that, on Sunday, and got beat up in every aspect. And beat up, I think, is the right word to go into that. We all season, preseason, training camp, all season, Rob, we talk about the line of scrimmage. Got creamed on the line of scrimmage offensively and defensively. And that's obvious. Like, I don't even have to say this on, coming out on Thursday morning. Everybody's heard this 1,000 times this week in the Mafia and saw it with their own eyes on Sunday.
That's right.
How bad we got beat up on the line of scrimmage. And again, like, going back to the coaching and vibe of that, what do you need in that situation? Yeah, maybe some adjustments, maybe this, maybe a different play call, but you needed juice. You needed to get back into the game.
A big play.
And even if it's going for it on that 4th and 10 right before the half even if you don't get it, but showing your team, hey, fuck this. Like, we got to win this game. Like, we got to do whatever we got to do to win this game. And maybe that gives you some juice and, gives the crowd a little juice. Like, all right, we're not giving up. 17's still here. We can still win this game. And then they punt. And it's like, damn, like, maybe we can't now, And so what you needed most was juice, and he didn't do any decision
you sucked your own energy out of the game. Yeah, you
sucked your own.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. You sucked your own energy out of your own team by not being, aggressive and being ultra passive. Listen, and I know we're talking about defense. We'll get to offense and we'll transition to offense because there's plenty of meat on that bone. But defensively specifically, listen, I don't care if it was Bruce Smith. I don't care if Von Miller, who we obviously are all lamenting that he missed that game. There was nobody that's going to get to the quarterback like it said, like half of his throws I heard on GR this week were under 2.5 seconds ball out, which means that there has to be an adjustment made on your corners and your secondary and your linebackers. Press up to the line of scrimmage. I mean, I wish we had Coach Varner on this week because he's much more the X&O guy. He can tell you all about that different types of stuff. But I know just my limited knowledge of Madden and football. Press your corners, get up and start to bump them to disrupt the timing. If he can get the ball out in under 2.5 seconds, then we've got to make sure that in those 2.5 seconds he's not seeing shit. So that way our defensive line, which we're supposed to have some type of advantage over 3 backup Cincinnati Bengals that day, they have a chance to get home. None of that was done. It was just weird, and I just rebuke the fire Leslie Frazier rhetoric that's out there right now. I've been campaigning for him throughout the year to get a head coaching job because I thought that he deserves it. I know that he deserves one. He is a leader of men. Even if he has a flaw on late game situations or whatever the case may be, again, it's Sean McDermott's job to pull rank. It should have happened in 13 seconds. That's why I won't blame 13 seconds on Frazier. It's hard for me to say that Sean doesn't know defense just like Leslie does, so that he has another idea and says, hey, wait, whoa, why? It's 3rd and 4. We're not, no, tell them to get up on the ball. Like, no, don't give him a 7-man cushion. Leslie, and scold Leslie. That should be, your exit interviews with your coaches. That's where hey, man, you were getting ready to fuck us up on that one play. Good thing I made a change. Like, you got to stop. You got to change that philosophy. That's the type of conversations that they should be having behind closed doors during the game. Pull rank, man. Like, just say something, which means that either he thinks that it's okay, and if he's complicit in it, then that sucks too. Or he's too passive. And again, that's a problem for me. It is.
Yeah. Your 1st round pick this year, Rob Kyer Elam, was made and it got drafted in the 1st round because he was a press man coverage guy.
That's right.
And you're playing some of the biggest, you're playing some of the biggest receivers in the league, and it's 3rd and 4, and he's 12 yards off the ball. Get these dudes out. Like you said, it's either his philosophy and he's overshadowing, Frazier on it, or he's cool. Like, he thinks that's the right call, and it's not, so either way, whoever fault it is, it's ultimately, Sean's when it comes to that. But Yeah, the pressure hasn't. They haven't had pressure since he's been the coach. I mean, like you said, the balls were quick out. It's tough to get there, but you got to make adjustments. Otherwise, I wasn't calling for the easy like blitz because they just don't do that.
Yeah,
So,
no,
talk about being a hypocrite, changing philosophies. I wasn't
right.
expecting them to blitz a ton to be at pressure. On Joe Burrow. I thought they
But
could
you can
do it
play
other
some
ways,
man.
and
You can play
yeah,
man though. You have
yeah,
guys that can play
definitely
man. You can play
for
man,
sure, for sure. And I
and
mean, these
part of
dudes got
coaching
kind of
is
cooked.
being able to adjust and doing different things. Part of that is throwing different looks. This is the last game of the season potentially, so you need to make sure that you throw the kitchen sink at these guys. And I just didn't see it. It just seems like more of a Sean McDermott has more of an approach where he'll just take it, and his defense is bend but don't break, just like Dick Duran's. It's not aggressive, and I think that he just doesn't know how to change his spots. Like he's very stuck in his ways in that respect, and I will be focusing on him 2023 because my patience has ran thin. On the offensive side of the ball, DT, as we shift, boy has has Ken Dorsey been a hot topic this week along with Leslie Frazier. I think both coordinators have really been at top of mind for Bills Mafia and Nickel City Crew. I will say this about Ken Dorsey, and it's not me trying to take a victory lap or anything like that, because I'm not trying to do that. I want things fixed. I did say that, throughout, that was my number one Nickel City Crew. You guys know that was my number one concern in the offseason. Just because you've never done the job before doesn't mean you can't do it. Just means you've never done the shit. And that matters to me. It mattered to me. Now, I don't think that he was, completely horrible or anything like that all year. I know that the stats people will tell you that if we scored the same amount of points and all this other type of stuff, and the averages were right there, and they did top 2 offense. I get it. Something was wrong with the offense, DT, and we talked about it, or at least I know I definitely talked about it, even if you didn't co-sign for it. I told you since that Packers game, something was wrong. And then we listened to Brandon Beane yesterday confirm exactly what the fuck I said, and said that after the bye week, they just thought that something was off. And that in the bye week was even before. The wasn't the bye week right around Green
The
Bay or
bye
something
week
like
was
that.
right before Green Bay, yeah. In
Yeah.
between Green Bay and Kansas City.
So that's
yeah.
weird, man. And to hear the general manager, I wasn't taking a victory lap, but I was literally in the grocery store yesterday when he was talking, and I'm just shaking my head as I'm pushing my cart, like, yes, like I've been saying that, like there was something off, DT. To hear the GM say it, like, what's your take, man? Because I mean, it was just weird, man. The offense, it seems like they just come up with shit. Like they don't really have a plan. And I heard Jeremy White talking about it throughout this week. And one thing that stuck out to him, which you already talked about again tonight, was like literally that ghost line situation. Like they're just like, all right, just run it, Josh. Just run it. Just get barrel in there. Just barrel. And it's like back-to-back plays. And I'm like, I don't even know if they have, like, you don't have like a nice little quick out play. Like you guys don't practice stuff like that where you don't have to like have them banging in there on a cold night. Like it just seems like they just try shit. And I don't know if there's a plan. It just seems like there's no rhyme or reason. And Dable created layups. I miss him. And you know that I've lamented it, man. Talk to me about what you think about this offense, because I know that the stats are there, man, but boy, this was different to me, man. And I've been saying this shit all year.
I agree in a way with that. It looked a little off, and the Josh injury and a lot of things had a factor to do there. If you look at, like you said, they kind of get the super intricate, and nothing was easy, and there was no
Very hard.
layups in your regard. But then they could go caveman real quick and just, oh, we're super creative. We're super creative. We can do all these things, but we're not. Like it doesn't look as easy. But then it's like, all right, just let Josh run. Like there was no middle ground,
Right.
there was no check down pass.
Where's James Cook? Where are the screen
exactly.
passes?
And so I agree in that regard. And I think that, to do with coaching a little bit of, this was a tough year where you give Josh the reins, but still had to rein him in, but give him the reins, but rein him in. And I think Josh felt the pressure. Okay, they're giving me the reins, so I have to do everything and do whatever I can, which forced some bad decisions, which forced some great decisions,
and turnovers,
but forced some bad decisions as well. So there's no middle ground. It's like they were too creative and crazy. And then when that wasn't working, it was just like, Josh, just figure it out. Just run the ball or throw it 80 yards or whatever you got to do.
Yes.
And so I agree a little in that. A stat that kind of popped out, the Dolphins game, 48% of
Playoff
passes
game?
Josh was Dolphins game last week. 48% of passes Josh is pressured, by far the most out of any playoff game that week.
Wow.
54% of the snaps the Dolphins blitzed. All right,
Okay.
so that makes sense. They bring the heat, Josh gets pressured, makes
Bad
sense, right?
O-line. Average
An
O-line.
extra guy rushing, Josh is gonna feel the hurry. That is what it is. You blitz. This week, they're pressured 40% of snaps, which is basically the worst again in the playoffs this week. And the Bengals barely blitzed.
Wow.
So on top of, like kind of crazy play calling back and forth, whatever, you're looking at the offensive line just getting dummied out there. Blitz
Yeah,
or
man.
no blitz,
Yeah.
they're not even bringing pressure. So Josh can't, get to these guys downfield. And then he's having to, retreat out of the pocket. Like there's some tape out here from Sunday, Rob, where like there's like dudes that have no business like taking snaps in the NFL if they're going to play like that.
Man,
Like
Deion Dawkins had a bad game.
Yeah.
You know what I
Ken
mean? Like
Dawkins
actually.
had a roller coaster year and definitely a bad game Sunday. Roger Saffold, one of the worst ranked guards in the league. Like not even like in the league. Mitch Morse, there was okay, and there was a huge difference when he was out with Josh comfortability and the way the offense moved with Mitch Morse out.
With
Bates, we sign him back, pay all that money to get Bates back, and he, is nothing like he was last year. And Spencer Brown it's a coin flip, Rob. It's a coin flip on a snap. If he's going to be a complete miss, he might make a block and Bean kind of touched on that a little in like that
he'll bring in competition.
Missed the COVID year in college, came in, played strong, but then back issue last year, didn't have a full out, whatever, right?
And from Northern Iowa, he said, and all this other stuff. Yeah.
So you're looking at a combination of kind of just non-consistency, when it comes to the play calling and Josh's comfortability, trying to gauge what you give 17, what you don't give 17, how much leverage you give them, how much you don't. The battle of weapons.
It's like a yo-yo.
The battle
all year
of
long.
weapons. Do we have enough? Don't we have enough? We got 50-year-old, it seemed like Cole Beasley out here, getting mad targets on Sunday, which that's another debatable topic. But then, then this line, I think, is just got bullied 100% of the time. And it goes back to kind of these Green Bay teams, how Aaron Rodgers deodorizes these teams that weren't very good. And I think the Bills are good. Don't get me wrong when I say this, but he deodorizes this offensive line a ton. And that's what the criticism is. Oh, Josh, he gets happy feet. He's missing the guys underneath. And it's like
people are in his face.
It's tough to stay composed, even if he does have a clean pocket and their guys are underneath open. Like late in the game Sunday, they're like, "Oh, look at all these guys open underneath." It's like, well, all game he's been running for his life, so it's like it's tough to just make that adjustment. Like, okay, no, I'm good. I can.
That's that Sam Darnold seeing ghosts, all of a sudden he's thinking that pressure's coming when it's not because it's been constantly receiving pressure, so that affects his mindset.
And I said that to you in the Dolphins game when I was sitting next to you in the Dolphins game when we started to get to Skyler in the second half, and I was like, now his clock's all messed up. Now this is where he starts making mistakes. This is where you can really put the clamps down, and that's why we brought in Von Miller to do that to other quarterbacks. And Josh, had his composure, literally bloodied, got hit like every game. This dude took it. I think the elbow injury was a little more than anybody anticipated. And that was kept kind of under wraps and rolling and, and whatever. And it was like, kind of like, is this going to be my last throw? I better make it the best, and that was kind of a feeling like that too. So offensive line, I think those stats really speak for themselves it's tough to get anything going when it starts from there. And you look at Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl, there's always a good quarterback in the Super Bowl for the most part. And the way you usually win those games is when, a pass rush can stop him down. And that's kind of been the MO on Josh all year. On games they've struggled, they brought the pressure and they haven't been able to block for him. And that was, I think, the biggest case of why the offense sputtered, on Sunday.
Yeah, and what I've heard this week, and I want to warn Bills Mafia about something, the Nickel City Crew, because I heard it on WG. I can't remember if it's Sneaky Joe or Nate Gary, but they were talking about how Josh can get out of pressure, and they want weapons almost more than solidifying the line. Here's the one thing: obviously we want both, and we know that the Bills are not going to have just unlimited cap space to take care of everything. Here's my only caution to Bills fans that think that the line doesn't matter. You have this prized possession. You have this amazing generational quarterback that can seem to be, he seemingly could do anything, and he puts on his cape and he goes from Clark Kent to Superman. That's fine. You run this dude into the ground and you have him, putting on that cape every single week for the next 3, 4, 5 years. I promise you by the end of it, he's not going to be the same guy. Now, we've seen it with Cam Newton. I know Josh is better than Cam Newton. That's not a comparison. The comparison is that running quarterbacks, ones that are on the edges, that are moving around a lot, they get beat up a little bit and their bodies go through it. You will regret not protecting Josh Allen. I'm gonna put that out there. You are going to regret not protecting him and helping that he can be put on that cape every single time, because yes, he can for a lot of it, but there's going to be situations where he's just not going to be able to do it. Maybe that day, maybe that season, maybe that play. That play could be in the Super Bowl. Just be careful with not protecting this guy. Now we're getting ready to pay him the money. Like I'm under the impression that we are kind of spoiled by this guy, and they think that the kid can do anything, and that he'll just fuck it, and just let him go out there, get him some weapons, get him some more receivers. Which I want more receivers, I want more weapons. I just said that today when I took my son to the barbershop. Like, yep, I want more weapons. However, just be very careful. Be very careful not protecting him. Sean McDermott hasn't had a really good O-line, DT, since he got here. I hear Colin Cowherd, bring up that point all the time, and how quick Andy Reid turned around Kansas City's offensive line in one offseason. And he's right. And I listen to Colin a lot of the times as well, and I enjoy his commentary. And he's right. Sean McDermott, we haven't had a solid. We've had middle of the packs. They change out guards like underwear. You know what I mean? 1-year deals for everybody. Quentin Spain, and then all these other guys, they'll bring them in and they'll ship them out, and that's fine. I know that it's not a resource that you need to commit a whole bunch of money to, but they don't draft offensive linemen early. They don't really trade for big fish or anything like that. All these guys are on 1-year deals, and they rotate these guards in and out. If there's not a commitment to the offensive line to protect him soon in the next, I would say 2-3 years, you're just gonna regret it. Not that he's gonna necessarily get hurt, I know, but where do quarterbacks get hurt? In the pocket. I mean, the common nomenclature, the common rhetoric out there is wrong. That it's scrambling quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson doesn't get hurt more than any other quarterback. It's that he gets hurt when he's in the pocket, really. And listen, just be careful not protecting this guy, man. He is a prized possession, about to be your $250 million, $150 million guaranteed quarterback. You don't want to protect him, then you could do it at your own peril.
It has to be priority one, I think, Rob. And I'm not saying you gotta, I'm not saying go out and get a big free agent, because we can't, but I'm like, it's got to be priority number one as an organization. Protect the merchandise, Rob. You said it best. Protect the merchandise. It's if you want to see how much of a difference it is if 17's not in the game. It's a difference of not even the playoffs or not. It's a difference of top 10 pick.
I was about to say top 10 pick if he's not playing. Hell yeah, it's
a difference of a top 10 pick. So you protect the merchandise. That's got to be number one to protect 17. That's got to be top of the game plan every single game.
Yeah.
Whatever you have to do to protect him, because then if you protect him, that's when he does everything else for you. That's when he can lock in and, run when he needs to, get the defense off him. And
right.
It starts with the protection, starts with
bingo. Yes.
Yeah.
Because what can happen is you can use it in conjunction with now his running ability is a real threat, because of the fact that when plays are breaking down and you guys have got your backs turned, and there's guys that are out there, the defense playing man, you don't know what the hell's going on because you're running with Steph Diggs, you're running with all these receivers and shit like that, and all of a sudden you're guarding for 5 seconds. Oh, well, I know that our defense has got it by now. Nope, he's out the back door and he's gone. Use it in conjunction. Use his ability to run in conjunction with the fact that we're going to set up a line to protect him. I want weapons. I understand that signing Cole Beasley and John Brown at the end of the year was a huge red flag. And we talked about it on the show that this obviously means that they know that they're in trouble with receivers. And I do need more weapons outside of Stephon Diggs. I know that Gabe Davis, we all saw he wasn't ready to be a number 2 receiver, and that's fine. Get him back into his role before his contract is up as a nice 3 receiver or number 4. I am all about weapons. I know Jerry White or DR, they're all about receiver, and I get it. I'm totally down with it. I have seen quarterbacks get ruined by running around and by it just takes a toll on the body, man. By the end of it, Cam Newton didn't look like anything that he looked like when he was opened up his chest Superman with the Carolina Panthers down here where I am in Charlotte. By the time you saw him in New England, I mean, noodle arm, everything, all of the, like, he couldn't even run the same way that he used to run because it's just hard. It's just a hard living when you're doing that. I would much rather Josh make all of his money and make all of his money throws out there in the pocket and then use his legs when he needs them. Right now, he is literally Superman, and he's got the cape on every play, and that shit is going to catch up with us. It just is, man. History tells us that it's going to be hard on his body.
I think it goes back to coaching again, Rob, because in this case, like
How so?
the Bengals had 3 offensive starters out and were able to protect, pretty darn well
No
with
problem.
Joe Burrow. These
Change the scheme.
all-star lines rarely you ever see in the NFL. Maybe the Cowboys a few years ago when they had the 5, Pro Bowlers across. But other than that, there's a couple decent guys on your line, and then you kind of plug and play. That's the model of the whole NFL.
Right.
So it's always kind of going to be this way, I think. But the way you got a scheme to protect, I think is a lot more important here. You rarely ever see 5 studs across the board, on the offensive line. You're going to have plug-and-play guys. So you got to figure out a way to use whoever you got and still be able, no matter who, the scheme has to fit. So maybe it's the offensive line coach. Maybe it's a little Dorsey and, McDermott. I'll give him a little bit of a break because he's not an offensive coach. But like you said, everything still has to go through him, and the priority has to be to protect 17. So
we got
I
our
don't
coach
put as
Sunday.
much into the personnel. I don't take as much into the personnel of the offensive line as to the scheme of figure out a way. It doesn't matter who's in there to protect 17. So that's
and part of protecting them could be what, like you just said, what the Bengals did. The Bengals, we know that our line is in shambles this week. It's playoffs. It's do or die. Okay, we're going to run quick game all game long. Are the Bills effective in quick game? I don't know because they don't run it. Are the Bills effective in play action? I don't know because they don't run play action. Are the Bills effective with a good screen game? I don't know. We've got James Cook, a beautiful guy that out there on the edges in Georgia was making dudes look silly in the SEC. I have no idea because we do not use him. So it's weird. Nyheim Hines, trade for him. Well, he's just going to be a return guy. Now
13 plays on offense.
Now Brandon Beat is telling me yesterday that offense, he tries to say the word offense like, oh, he's going to have more of a role. Okay, I would have liked that this year than with his speed. So it just seems weird that there was never a marriage between philosophy and execution. There was never it was just never a direction. What is our offense?
It's not all blocking. No, so the blocking is one thing, but it's also to kind of shade your blocking. Yeah, you have to have the screens, you have to have the dump outs, like to get a little break on the line if they are getting beat, to give some other looks there. And Nyheim Hines comes in 13 offensive snaps, Rob.
That's
crazy. He had 2 tutties, I think. I think he had 2 tutties on offense. Obviously, the 2 kick returns, but on offense, 2 tutties and 13 snaps. It's like that's not a weapon. There's a production right there. Getting a water break. Like that's a guy getting a water break. So I agree. Like there's got to be some other intricate things built into this offense. So if not just blocking and giving a clean pocket, but if we can't do that, we got to have alternatives rather than Josh just good luck, man.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck. And that's exactly what it seemed like on Sunday. And I know that the footing and all this other stuff. Listen, the Bengals look fine. They both wear cleats and all this. Like, I don't want to hear about footing. I don't want to hear about
these people. They were wearing the wrong cleats.
Like, what the hell I'm like, you guys are just really searching. You're searching. And I understand that at the end of the season, we're all searching for answers. And that's, again, part of the car crash mentality. It's an abrupt ending. And that's the part that sucks as being a fan because, we had these expectations in Super Bowl and Vegas has got us as a favorite, damn near the entire year. And listen, it just seemed disjointed on offense. And I noticed it in the second half of that Green Bay game. And then it seemed to me that it continued. And yes, I know that there were weeks that you throw up your 30 like that. I think that is one of the main reasons why you've got to find a way to get this shit together, because we were so good with Josh Allen still that we were putting up 30 points when we really didn't have an identity. Like we're just, he's just kind of figuring it out. And the offense week to week never seemed to have an identity. It never seemed to, I didn't know what they were going to be doing every week. It just seemed like they were going to wing it. And I know that that's not obviously the case, but like the scripted plays, it's supposed to be 10, 15 plays. And then that's off a script. Like that's something like, that's why they're going to work. Josh Allen drives the One Bills Drive every day, goes to the Ad Pro Sportsplex, and then they practice. Like, so if you're practicing an entire week, your script's got to be right. I don't know if it's Dorsey again, first time on the job. Something was like 3 and out on the first drive, like the first drive. Oh, was it the first 2?
Yeah.
On Sunday? Wow, man, that sucks.
Yeah.
I didn't even
notice.
I
think it was the Bengals had more first downs than the Bills yards in the first quarter.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, then that makes sense then, because they had 30 first downs to end the game, a Bengals franchise playoff record.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty ridiculous to see it on Sunday, and obviously there's changes that have to be made. Again, here, Nickel City Group, you're not going to hear me call for Leslie Frazier, Ken Dorsey. Again, I'm watching. I've been watching him, and like if he seems like he's over his skis, I want somebody to identify that down there and make a change. Only they will know that. I just know that the offense seemed disjointed this year, and that was one of the most consistent things about the offense, was that I knew I wasn't going to know what the hell to expect from them on every Sunday. So that's not a good feeling. But again, the great feeling that we had was 17. So got to figure out a way to cover up for him and to help him out, because he cannot put on the cape every play. He can't.
And a name we haven't talked about tonight, Rob, as we kind of transition to post game and offseason here, is Brandon Beane. Okay, we call him Wizard Beane. We love him, and he's made some things happen and worked some things around. But we're up against it now, and you talk about weapons. We haven't had a high offensive pick,
Nope.
in years. Stephon Diggs was the high offensive pick, and
as Brandon Beane was
with
quick to tell you yesterday when he was trying to
Yeah.
be defensive and let people know that the picks and stuff like that. Yes, you're right.
So Stephon Diggs, but other than that, I mean, you got on defense, you got Greg Rousseau, who Boogie Basham
Nope.
gets a
AJ
jersey half the
Epinesa,
time. Ed Oliver, pretty solid, but
Where was he Sunday? I need you to
exactly,
show up. These are the biggest games.
So
You want a contract.
all these early picks from Brandon Beane, and
Not a lot
they're
of
not
fruit.
panning out, and that's 4 years of we didn't take a weapon in the first round.
Yes.
Guys like George Pickens stuff last year. Every year, there's probably 10 guys, right? You can say, and that's easy. Coulda, shoulda, woulda when you look at draft and
But it's the
whatnot.
truth, though. It's the truth.
But
First and second round wide
we
receivers are all over the league.
yeah,
That's what they're
and
talking about on
what
GR
was the
today. They're
big
all
thing
over.
in Green Bay for years? What did they do? Aaron Rodgers was crazy. He deodorized everything, so they never got him a weapon.
Right.
And I hope that isn't the case here, because we have to get a weapon now, probably through the draft, especially this year with money drop. So Brandon Beane is one that has really flown under the radar for any criticism, because it's been a feel good vibe and salary and moving around, but to be honest, his picks have been mediocre at best the last 4 years, so.
And I agree. Now, how much of that are, and I saw somebody mention something on I know that the show airs on Thursday, but we're talking Wednesday night. Somebody said on GR today, and it was a good point. And I was wondering today, they were like, well, how much does McDermott have to do with the draft and the selections that Brandon Beane picked?
Sure.
So is it more of a 50-50 split? It seems to me that how about this? I'll put it this way. It seems that whatever McDermott wants, he gets. Why are you drafting 2 defensive ends first and second round? That's got to be something that McDermott wanted, right? And now I know that they say value and they've got their boards and there's nobody. Listen, take a flyer. I know where they pick Boogie Basham. There are receivers behind him. Now we'd have to bring up the draft, and you know what I mean? I know other people can help me out with that, and we can look at who were some of the selections afterwards. But there were selections after. You take Greg Rousseau, okay, no problem. Then you double down with another defensive end. I haven't seen Carlos Basham make any really big impact on this team anything.
He gets a jersey half the time, Rob. Half the time.
So, I mean, and AJ Epinesa, I understand that he was a hard worker and stuff like that, but he had short arms coming out of Iowa. Wasn't really, crazy good or anything like that, but he was a solid guy, solid starter, there in the Big Ten. They take him. I don't see any fruit from that tree. I don't like, so you're making all these decisions. How much of it is, Sean elbowing Brandon, like, hey, man, I would, really like this guy. And then he's talking about, okay, Sean, I hear you. And he's talking about offense, like, hey, don't forget about, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how it works there in the draft room. At this point, I'm so McDermott sensitive that I wouldn't put anything past. He was here before Beane. Don't forget. Now, Whaley's on his way out of the door as Sean McDermott comes in, and then they're cleaning up the mess and they're figuring out what they're getting ready to do once. But like the first draft was McDermott with Whaley, with a lame duck Whaley, which he obviously knew that he was getting ready to be fired. So, I mean, I wouldn't put anything past McDermott having a lot of power. To me, at One Bills Drive, Sean gets what Sean wants. The Bagulas are elated not to have a frat house anymore. They are elated that their coach doesn't eat dog biscuits. They are elated to have a professional with his cool, catchy slogans. They are elated with Sean McDermott's success. And I won't take anything away. Yes, the culture's been built. It helps when you win. He's won. He ended the drought. I give him his marks for that type of stuff. It's just the fact that he has an obsession with defense, and Rightly so, because that's the side of the ball he came from. I don't see fruits from the tree. So I agree that Brandon Beane should be put on trial a little bit too, but I still don't put anything past McDermott. I think he runs the shit down. I think he runs the show down there at One Bills Drive. That's me personally. I think he runs it.
But,
I think this
but
is his
yeah,
place.
On the other side of that, Rob, to give Bean some credit, pass rush, what do you do this year? Went out and totally revamped the defensive line.
Right.
Got Von Miller, got Daquan Jones, got
Right.
Tim Settle, got Jordan Phillips.
Daquan, who was out Sunday too.
Yeah, I think that
mattered for the run
too.
Yep.
That
shoving it down our throats. 172 yards.
Shaq Lawson, and so he
Jordan
went out
Phillips
and revamped. Bean did. Hey, we need to address this. Let's go address this, and he did. And still, it was kind of the same result. So, yeah, I mean, if that's the case, and the revamp is it the scheme? Because these guys are good; they've had proven success. So, is it a scheme thing? Is it something like that? Because Bean did go out and make a splash. Hasn't done it since Stephon Diggs on offense.
Nope.
But revamped a lot, and moved up to get Kyrie Elam this year, which hey, we needed a corner, is what it is in that regard, but. So what do you do this year now? Like, yeah, there's still holes on the defense. There was holes on the defense last year, and you did that. Holes on the offense last year, you did Kyrie Elam. There's holes on both coming up again. So what do you do? And
I think I will
credit
throw
to Bean in the fact of it seems like he is like major addressing. He does it, but then it's the same result. So that goes back to scheme and look, as we talked about. So
talent evaluation, you know what I mean? All that type of stuff comes into it. Obviously Brock Purdy is giving everybody in scouting a bad look right now across all 32 teams, because even the San Francisco 49ers themselves skipped them for 6 rounds. So, yeah, I mean, it's a crapshoot. The draft is a crapshoot. A lot of the times it's a guesswork. You watch these guys on Saturdays and you're trying to project to see what their talent and how they would fit into your scheme and different things like that. And can you get these guys to fit? And listen, take swings. I want to see offense. I want to see offense on the top of mind. I've seen enough defense from the draft, so I want to see offense top of mind. Linemen, receivers. I don't need any more running backs right now or anything like that. We've got let's see what James Cook can do, and you got Nyheim Hines, I think, for longer than this year because he's still in his Colts contract. So I want to see weapons addressed. You are absolutely right that you have to support these guys. You can have that Josh be the deodorant for the offense if you want. You can choose not to protect him if you want. You will get similar results that we got on Sunday in years to come, and you'll win your games. You know what I mean as well. Now the division is not going to get any weaker. You know what I mean? The Jets are here.
No.
Jets seem like if they can find a quarterback that they're going to be in the back of our hair as well. We know that the Dolphins seem to have the right thing going. If Tua can stay healthy, their coach seems to be legit. I mean, nothing is getting easier. So it's time we're way behind the weapons category. It's time to try to catch back up with Cincinnati and Kansas City and get some more weapons for Josh. I'm all in agreement to that. I just will say, offensive linemen are a weapon as well, so don't just neglect it or think that you can bring in somebody off the street. Now, maybe you can bring in somebody off the street and plug and play to get in a replacement level. It didn't work this year with Saffold. It didn't work, with Bates. So you're gonna have to. It didn't work. It hasn't worked with Spencer Brown. Like he was probably our worst lineman this year. So I'm gonna need some changes made up there to try to help. And then you're absolutely right, DT. Scheme it up. Make sure that those guys are put in positions where, hey, we do this, but we can also do this. So they're doing this, so we're going to change and do that. Like, you've got to be able to do that. We didn't see that Sunday, and unfortunately the season came to a halt. Now, as we wrap up, I know that we've gone a little bit long tonight, but we needed this, and I needed this. I got to address the Stephon Diggs shit, man, because I told you, he's my favorite Bill. It's quite frankly, it's pissing me off. It's getting on my nerves. To be honest, and I had to stay off of Twitter because like I'm starting to get upset about it, because here's my thing. There's a double standard in the NFL. There's a double standard across NFL fans. When a quarterback yells at his offensive lineman, DT, or he's yelling at teammates, or he's trying to get shit in gear, they say, oh, man, he really cares. Oh, look at fiery Tom Brady. Oh, look at fiery Peyton Manning. This guy really gives a shit. He really cares. He cares. When a receiver does it or another player does it, it's, oh, he's a diva. Oh, he's me. Oh, he's a bad teammate. I want to remind Nickel City Crew, Bills Mafia, Stephon Diggs's peers elected him to a captaincy for the second straight year for the Buffalo Bills offense this year. For the second straight year, his peers, not us, not the media, not the people that go to work with him, that are in that same locker room with him, voted him a captain. So first of all, don't tell me about leadership. Don't tell me that he's a bad leader. He was hot. We know who we have with Stephon Diggs. He runs hot. Now, shout out to Duke Johnson, who did the right thing, making sure that he got him to come back when the actual coaches came back into the locker room and get him back in there because, as Duke put it, he didn't want it to affect him long term. He didn't want anything that, you know what I mean, where now people really are going to be in his ass if he goes and he hops in his car and he starts to head up Abbott while the coaches are addressing the team after a playoff loss. So I understand that Josh made that little comment, and I know it was probably directed at Diggs when he said that we all got to be here for each other. I agree with Josh that we do all have to be here for each other. However, if I'm going to go and I'm so mad that I'm going to go and I'm going to turn over this table, DT, or I'm going to punch a hole through the wall, then maybe I need to go outside and smoke a cigarette for a quick minute, you know what I mean, and maybe decompress, or maybe I need to go hit the blunt real quick and decompress. If I already know myself and I know that if I go in that house right now and I'm so mad, I'm going to punch a hole through the wall, or I'm going to flip over tables, or I might get in a fight with my brothers, whatever the case may be, then I might need to decompress. He needed to take a step back. I have absolutely no issues with him taking himself away from the situation. I don't care if he didn't talk to the media, fine him. I don't care, fine him then. I heard Sal Capaccio said, I would appreciate, he doesn't have to talk to you. Now, it is a part of his job description, so that if he doesn't, there are ramifications. In that situation, I just don't blame him, DT. It's getting on my nerves how they are trying to question this guy's leadership and question how much of a good teammate he is. And I love his Twitter response. I told him and responded to his tweet that I would defend him on my show to my listeners, and I meant it. Stephon Diggs is a dog. I've said that to you guys before. I let you know what he was. He is a dog. He wants to win a Super Bowl. Now, I know that we want to win one as fans. I know his other teammates, other 52 teammates want to win one as well. He's a dog. He wants to win a Super Bowl. He wants the ball. What did he have, DT? 3 catches? What was it on Sunday?
3 catches, 35 yards, 10 targets.
Okay, so Josh Allen was clearly trying to get him the ball. Josh Allen was throwing him the ball. Things didn't work out on Sunday. He was frustrated. So listen, I mean, What do you want from him other than him to be a competitor? I like Brandon Beane's tone yesterday, and I just wanted to get that off my chest, DT, because he is in no way, shape, or form to me a bad teammate, and I reject all of that garbage rhetoric. I reject it. It's bullshit.
I'll second that, Rob. It pisses me off because it's blowing out of proportion. The media,
it's way over,
and you know the same media that's blowing out of proportion. Stephon Diggs yelling at Josh Allen on Sunday was the same media going viral for posting the video before the Thanksgiving game of Stephon Diggs telling Josh Allen he loved him, and he was thankful for him, and they were crying because they loved him.
You.
Same media is doing that to get the clicks. The same media is doing that Sunday to say that there's problems in the locker room. It's complete bullshit, Rob. I'm 100% with you there. It's crap, and any Bills fan doing the
but
same
they're getting
thing.
Into it. The Bills Mafia is buying into this bullshit.
If you don't want that competitiveness on this team, we're never going to win a Super Bowl. We need dogs like that in the locker room. We need competitors like that in the locker room. Josh Allen is that as well. You know, he doesn't show it like Diggs does, but there's a lot of guys that have that on this team that we need. And the same, Sports Illustrated running a cover story about how they play video games together and love each other in the offseason. Now, that media is saying how there's problems in paradise and Diggs wants the ball. And like you said, there is a double standard. Tom Brady yells at his team. Josh Allen yells at his team. Oh, they give a shit.
Oh, they care so much. They're so fiery.
The receiver freaks out, and it's this diva, he can't do it. So 100% with you. The same people are doing hypocritical things all season, and then it just adds on the shitstorm garbage fire of whatever Sunday was. That's the cherry on top. So I agree. Any real member of Nickel City crew right now, any real member of Bills Mafia, better know the truth on that. Better get real with that, because I'm sick of hearing about that too.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're absolutely right that you need dogs like Stephon Diggs to win championships. So if you want all choir boys, I'm so happy that even Sean McDermott, that he didn't subscribe to that. And we talked about how they're looking at OBJ and different things like that. Listen, we look at the player. If he's a good person and he fits, he can fit into the locker room, as long as he hasn't hurt anybody or anything like that. Then you should be open to these guys. You shouldn't have look of all choir boys. I want somebody like Stephon Diggs. That's a part of the reason why he is my favorite Bill. He brings the juice. He brings the energy. He gets everybody ready to go on Sundays, especially specifically on the offensive side of the football. He gets those guys going with the way he's talking. What is the I'm him video? What is he saying there? He's saying that I'm that motherfucker. Like, that's what he's trying to relate. He has that confidence. He exudes it, and people pick up on that. most importantly, his teammates. It's important for guys like that. So if you want all choir boys, you can have them. I understand that he was upset. I know that Josh didn't do anything wrong, and people that want to say that this is something against in our front to Josh, no, Josh was trying his best. So was Steph. He has had a moment of frustration. He's got his hands out on TV, and then the cameras caught it. I don't have any problem with it. What did Josh do? Great leader. Great. He knows Steph. What did he do? He kept his head buried in that iPad the entire time, didn't even acknowledge him. Why? Because he probably knew that if I got up and I say something back to him, well, now he's really going to blow his, the top's really going to come off. So Josh understands him. Like you said, they're friends. They understand that. It's the heat of competition. And I give him all the passes for it. I have no problem with any of it. And Nickel City Crew, just make sure that you guys are not a part of that chorus that's talking about stripping him of his captaincy. I said, well, first of all, his peers picked him. And when I heard somebody say that on Twitter, I said, his peers picked him to be the captain, so they already think that he's a leader. So don't tell me to strip off that now he's not a leader because he was upset and didn't want and left the locker room. Again, shout out to Duke Johnson. Very, very happy that he got him to come back into the locker room when Sean McDermott came, because otherwise, and I'm sure Buffalo would be ready to throw him out of the town and talk about trade Diggs, and then we'd have no offense. So, you know what I mean? So it's funny to me, man. Stephon Diggs is the man. I do love his intensity, and he was boiling hot. If how is it okay for us to be hot, and then the guys that are on the team?
That's what I was just going to say.
Doesn't make any damn sense. I'm yelling out obscenities as I walk into my car, and I shut my phone off because I didn't want to see anything, and I just walk into the car, walking back to the grass lots. I'm pissed. Imagine if I was a player. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
I was just gonna say that. We're fanatics. We're in the top tier degenerate Bills fans as they get, Rob. And the most we do is put in an 8-hour shift of tailgating and going to the game.
Absolutely.
These dudes are in the facilities at 5 a.m. every day since July, so this is something. And this
is their job. They care.
We're livid. Everyone's walking to the cars, MF and everything, not letting people get out in front of them because they're pissed. Yep. And then we the next morning we can sit there and say, "Oh, I can't believe Stephon Diggs is pissed." Come on.
You were mad. That's why you cut off 30 people, you know what I mean, on the way home, and didn't want to let anybody, you bumper to bumper, not letting anybody
yelled
in.
at your kids when you got home and whatever,
So, I mean, let's keep it all in perspective. And I just don't want to see Bills Mafia or Nickel City Crew. I don't want any members of the crew for sure, coming after this guy, because, that type of stuff, now with social media age, you don't want the fans to turn on you, and I don't want them to turn on him because he reads this stuff too. So I loved his response, and yes, he's not going to be happy. He did not apologize. He didn't apologize.
Another thought I have, Rob, of this week of like the way, and I get this is sports, right? This is every fan base, you're going to have this, but like the negativity right out of the gate, like towards specific players, like guys DMing, girlfriends and stuff. Like, saying some real.
Oh, remember the double doink?
Right?
They were talking about killing Parker.
Yeah, so it's like I get that happens. It's a league, but then it's like, this is like, you don't want Stephon Diggs to like start hating Buffalo. You don't want Josh Allen to, to just be so overwhelmed he starts hating Buffalo. Like, these guys gotta love it here because there's not a lot to love. So we can't start coming at him as a fan base. That was something that made me uneasy in the first couple of days of this. Like, I can be mad, I can sit here and bitch about it, but I'm not personally going at one of these guys. Like, they're my team.
There is a line.
They're who I root for, and they win this game Sunday. I love every second of it. So I'm not. So chill out a little.
If we won, nobody would have cared about what Stephon Diggs did on the sideline, and nobody would even cared. And they would have said again, "Oh, he's just a fiery guy. He's a competitor." I absolutely agree there, and there's definitely a line with social media too. So I can't believe the guys DM people's girlfriends. Like, that's crazy shit. I'd be mad as hell. I'd be ready to fight somebody over that shit. So,
and that's like my biggest fear. Buffalo pisses Josh Allen off. Like, come on.
No, don't do that. Yeah, listen, man. As we wrap up, listen, I've had a wonderful time this season. We are going to continue. We've got some cool news. We're going to go through the Super Bowl. If that's okay with you, DT, I know I talked to you about it, and you're down with it. So we got to go through the Super Bowl, and when we'll kind of take a break before we ramp it back up before the draft. We've got a special guest. I'm hoping to lock it in. DT knows about it. I don't want to ruin the surprise, but we've got a special guest that I want to try to get on next week. Before, right after we've got conference championships. So then we'll have a perfect chance to talk about and have a special guest on before the Super Bowl comes. So I'm really still excited. I mean, this was again a very abrupt car crash ending that we did not want to this season. We all feel the same way. We're all lamenting it. And I needed this tonight, DT. So I thank you for letting us run a little long tonight, man. I needed this. This was therapy. I literally said nothing really to really almost no one about the game. Like I wasn't talking to anybody about it. One of my boys, I said something too, but that was literally it. I haven't talked about it. I've been saving it all for tonight because like you said, I didn't want to sound crazy. That's the exact same reason it took me a week last year, after 13 seconds, because I didn't want to sound like a crazy man and call for everybody's job. So my final position, I'll let you have final word tonight. My final position, I do not necessarily need any coordinator fired, but I do need changes to be made. So if the Bills, that's their guys, they deal with these guys all the time. If Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane think that, Ken Dorsey can do this job, okay. I'll need to see some different shit next year. And Leslie Frazier, I already went to, at length about that in the beginning of the show. This is Sean McDermott's defense. Do not be fooled. Nickel City Crew, do not be fooled. Bills Mafia. This is a defensive coach who loves defense, loves defensive players, and is 100% a part of every decision that is made on Sundays with the Buffalo Bills. So who's to blame? To be honest, all these people calling for Leslie Frazier to lose his job, and the players respect him so much. If he had a bad idea on Sunday with that off coverage, Sean McDermott is allowed as his boss to say, no, we won't be running that coverage on this play. I need my coach to really be a little bit more assertive and aggressive and not be so passive in the biggest moments. This is it for me with him. I never really was a huge fan, and I talked about it. Next year will be it for me. This was disappointing Sunday, DT. It was disappointing. It was on everybody.
100%, not the way, we envisioned it, wanted it, could ever see it happening. But, I'd like to, thank, it was a good season, as
yes, went through a lot. They went through a lot of adversity, as everybody talks about.
This team definitely helped me, get through some stuff, and you get through some stuff this year. And,
especially with the blizzards.
It allowed us to kind of express together, and we got better each week on the podcast. And so there was definitely positives to this season, and years of losses. You still got to be grateful for a 3-loss year,
Oh God,
and
yes, you're right.
Quarterback as an MVP candidate and first team All Pros on defense and everything there. So,
but it's okay that the standard has raised, though. It's okay that the standard has gone up.
Agreed, because the whole rest of the league is doing it, and we can't get content with a little breath of success. Got to get back to it. Do what we got to do. I think we have the pieces to do it. It's just in basically 17, and then put it around them to make it happen. As Von Miller, said, the window's not closed, and I'd agree with that. It's not closed, but I had a lot of fun. I get we're going to keep doing this through throughout the offseason and whatnot, so I'm not signing off completely, but had a lot of fun this year. I appreciate the opportunity again, Rob, and
man,
had fun this season. Season. Team showed out here and there, and tough ending to it. We got to make adjustments. We got to get it going, but that's where I'll leave it, baby. It was fun.
It's cool, man. I mean, it was a great season. It was a great ride. Listen, shout out to Nickel City Crew. The crew grew this year, DT. And it just warms my heart, at being at the tailgates and hearing all the people that say that they listen. And then shout out to Josh Clue there in Section 104. The unofficial. The official, my administration, like chief of staff, like I'm the mayor, he's the chief of staff, like so many people in Section 104. Shout out to my Canadian crew that sits in front of me. They're listeners. So now Nickel City Crew is international, DT. Like we got international listeners. We crossing borders and shit. Like I really do love it. I mean, I've got a listener that always hits me up on Twitter and says that and always likes the show in the Netherlands. That's really, really cool to see. So Nickel City Crew, it grew, man. And I'm so excited for the future as well. We're not going to go away again. We will stick around through the Super Bowl and then take a break before they ramp it back up with the draft and stuff like that. And I know free agency and all that type of stuff gets cooking, but we'll decompress ourselves. We'll do like Stephon Diggs did, and we'll take some time away after the Super Bowl and kind of breathe for a second. But I'm just so grateful. I know you are as well, DT, to all the listeners out there. If you're part of the crew, you're a member of the crew, shout out to you, man. I really appreciate you. This was the whole point, was to talk to you guys and to interact with the fans and to give you guys a platform to talk about the Bills as well. So I'm going to work on that. That's going to be my goal for season 3, is to figure out a way to get these chats up and so we can do it live and we're interacting as well. So that I've got goals as well. I've got stuff I got to work on in the off season as well. So I want to make this a much more interactive podcasts as opposed to recording them on Wednesday and then releasing them the next day in the morning. I want to talk to the crew too now that we're growing. I want to talk to you guys live. So we'll figure that out. But it's been a blast, DT, man. It has been a blast this season. So I really appreciate it. And as always, man, these were my Bills thoughts said out loud. Hit them with a go Bills, DT. I mean, we still Bills, man. We're not turning on the mafia.
Nickel City, stay strong in there, stay safe, and go Bills.
All right, man, go Bills. Enough said.